Easy boys. What up, everybody? Red Button means we're alive. Some Casual Takes, episode 89, hosted by your boy, Stephen Pepper, here to casually talk sports. I got to make sure my mic's on every time I go live. One time I went live, my mic just wasn't on because I accidentally hit it. And then now I got to check before show. This episode is brought to you by no one. We're going to be talking about the two playoff games that happened yesterday, the final day of Wild Card Weekend. Happy retirement before you end the show to Jason Kelsey, the greatest center of all time. I mean, this guy announced his retirement today to his teammates. You can kind of tell last night Jason Kelsey was emotional, had a moment with his family, cried all the way to the locker room, really walked back to that locker room really slow. You can kind of tell that Kelsey was kind of done. Those rumors all season, was this going to be his last year? He's 36. He accomplished a lot in his career. I think he's a 6-time first-team All-Pro center, about a 7-8-time Pro Bowl champ, one of the greatest Philadelphia Eagles to ever play this game, but not just that, one of the greatest players to ever play this game, what he's done at the center position. Just great dude, father, great podcast host. Shout out to Jason Kelsey. And if that's actually official that he's retiring, which it seems like it is with all the social media posts and the reports, I haven't seen an official statement from Kelsey yet, but hell of a career. I just want to give him a shout out because he truly is, because I'm a guy who likes to appreciate greatness. And when you just have, I know Kelsey, all those ads about Travis Kelsey and Jason Kelsey and the Swift stuff and the pop posted everywhere and they get a lot of social media love. At the end of the day, I'm one of those guys, dude, and I love greatness. I recognize greatness when greatness is greatness, and I always give shouts to greatness. If you're a great, I'm never going to hate on you because I appreciate the beauty of the sport, guys who commit to the grind of the league and are the best at it. But let's talk about the Eagles because they lost last night. Oh, my God. That was my reaction yesterday. Just like, oh my God. I'm lucky I'm not an Eagles fan. Oh my God. I'm lucky I'm not an Eagles fan because I don't think I've ever seen a worse end of season collapse by a team with the expectations of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, to start a season 10-1, then finish 1-6 with Super Bowl goals is a disaster. I mean, you could say this team shouldn't have started 10-1 in the first place, and I would agree with you. I mean, all throughout the season, you guys have been listening to this podcast. I've been pointing out the flaws in this team. Thought they were winning a lot of close games just because they were more talented than everybody and would catch up to them. But even if this team realistically should have started the season, 8-3, just check the numbers and check the roster talent. They were still one of the best teams in the NFL. They had quality wins, and they looked really good. All went downhill after the 49ers loss. They really got punched in the gut and never came back up. I mean, last night, the defensive effort, the body language was unacceptable for the professional level. I mean, all throughout the weekend, they were putting up the USFL ads, the UFL ads, or whatever the league's called. It's starting up in the spring. I think the Eagles secondary should start filling out job applications over there because Bradbury and all of them, Debo said you're trash. You really looked trash last night. And the topic of every sports talk show is the security of Nick Sirianni, his head coaching job. Now, realistically, I think GM Howie Roseman won't fire Sirianni today. A lot of people are overly emotional saying Sirianni should be fired. Now, would I be surprised if he got fired? No. But I think they won't fire him this offseason. I think Howie Roseman gives him one more year to clean out his coaching staff, tweak the roster, guys get healthy, and he recaptures the locker room. Because they just were in the Super Bowl last year. That would be a little fast, right? But if that end of the season disaster even carries into next season, we'll be cut faster than the speed of light. Because to follow a Super Bowl appearance with a 10-1 start, with all your key guys coming back, and to finish the year losing 6 of your last 7 is the definition, open Merriam-Webster, of coaching malpractice. And you can talk about the defense all you want. But I saw a lack of leadership, identity, physical edge. And for a non-play calling head coach, I don't really like these guys, but those areas are your primary job. And it was clear last night that Sirianni was not meeting any of those requirements. So today it begs the question, what does Sirianni actually do? He's an offensive head coach who saw his offense deteriorate for weeks right in front of his two Italian eyes. This is an offense that went from 28.6 points per game to start the season to in their last 7, 18.6. Oh, it's Brian Johnson's fault, the offensive coordinator. I'm not going to disagree that he deserves a lot of blame. But then, it's like, okay, then shouldn't the offensive head coach who came up with this league as a playoff OC then take the play sheet? No, I know why. Because before Shane Steichen took over, Sirianni's offenses were horrible. It makes no sense that an Eagles team with an elite offensive line, run game, MVP level quarterback, Devonta Smith, were 0 for 9 on third down last night against the Bucs. I mean, that play calling, of course, Brian Johnson gets some blame and he will get fired, rightfully so. Look, middle school last night. I mean, Sirianni, offensive head coach. You're going up against a defensive head coach in Todd Bowles, who came up in this league throughout his entire career to be a guy who likes to blitz, and you had no game plan for the blitz? You had no blitz beater? I was texting my friends last night, like, this team has nothing. They have no quick routes on third down. They have nothing to beat the blitz. They're getting the backfield, and all these routes are taking forever to develop, especially without an A.J. Brown. I mean, that's why they didn't really convert on third down. How do you not even make a halftime adjustment, Sirianni? On 53.8% of your dropbacks, the Bucs blitz, and you had no blitz beater the entire game. This is who Sirianni is. He's a front-running head coach who is in over his head. When everything's going well, when he's not taking the play calling, team's winning, he's hype, he looks like a leader, he's beating his chest, they're tough, they're physical, they're winning. But as we saw in the first couple of games of his rookie year as head coach, before Steichen took over the play calling, and the end of this season, when it's going bad, he doesn't have the locker room, his team's not as physical. I mean, the most overpowered play in my lifetime didn't work yesterday. That was the ultimate indicator that something was wrong in Philadelphia. When the tush push, the old reliable wasn't working, something was up. Now, this is a franchise. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if they fired him today, because this is a franchise that moved off of Andy Reid when it was going bad. This is a guy who been to a Super Bowl, 5 NFC championships along with that. Chip Kelly, who would go 10-6, 10-6, 10-6. As soon as he had a bad season, they let him go. And who won a Super Bowl and then won a playoff game. As soon as he was bad, they let him go as well. So Sirianni, if I get a notification later today that Sirianni's fired, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they just gave him one more year, one more chance, because I think he's on his second to last year of his contract, or this might be his last year of his contract. And they say, hey, listen, clean house on the coordinators, get a new staff. Let's get this team healthy. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. Let's tweak some roster. Let's use another draft pick and get the locker room back. But I swear to you, this is a culture, talk radio, fan base, Howie Roseman. That'll be quick, Jeffrey Lurie, to cut their coaches. They are. And if Sirianni, this bad offense, because at the end of the day, yes, the defense is bad, but overall talent, this roster is great. And there's no way that an offensive head coach should have saw his offense deteriorate right in front of his eyes. That is malpractice. You're an offensive head coach with no offensive direction. What are you doing? Okay, let's talk about another team in the Pittsburgh Steelers that played yesterday where everyone was also talking about their head coach, this one being Mike Tomlin. Now, I'm not going to spend most of this segment talking about Coach Tomlin because you guys already know my take on Tomlin. I think Tomlin still, although I think the Steelers should part ways with him, they should just move on. It's just time, 17 years. Still one of the better head coaches in this league. I love Tomlin as a guy. He's a great leader. He doesn't know what losing is, and he can help you elevate. He's an all-time great, one of the greatest floor-raising head coaches in NFL history. He can always get a defense right, but the Steelers need to get an offensive head coach to elevate what it's been since Ben Roethlisberger left out of his prime, a below-average offense, and just a new era for Pittsburgh. And Tomlin can go to a better team, Chargers, Falcons, team that can give him a better chance of actually winning a playoff game. But if the Steelers do part ways with Tomlin, which they haven't said yet, I think Tomlin should be glad in a sense that he won't have to pretend that his quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is a franchise guy. Kenny Pickett, let me tell you something, bro. You should be ashamed of yourself. I mean, to be a first-round quarterback, expected to succeed the legendary Big Ben, and you're over there sitting on the sideline healthy during the biggest game of your season? That tells me all I need to know about you. The fact that the Steelers did not bring him back as a starter for third-string Mason Rudolph speaks volumes about Pickett's ability to be the future. The Steelers believed that a confident Rudolph would give them a better chance to win. That's all I need to know about Pickett's ability. I'm not even talking about the elite quarterbacks here. I'm talking about teams with an above-average quarterback. Like Cooper Rush has an above 500 record as the Cowboys starter. In no world is Jerry Jones right over Dax. No matter how many 300-yard, 2-touchdown games Nick Mullins can string together for the Vikings, they would quickly put Kirk Cousins back in the starting lineup. I'm not even talking about the elite core, because obviously backup quarterbacks will be immediately demoted for the elite quarterbacks. The same would be for the above-average quarterbacks, and that goes to show you that Kenny Pickett's not even a above-average quarterback in the eyes of the Steelers. Michael Penix, prepare to be a Steeler. You'll get a call on draft day. That's the direction of the Steelers franchise today. Pickett, it makes no sense. It really doesn't. Pickett, with a good roster, a coach who never loses, and a stable, one of the most historic organizations ever, is 14-10 as a starter and just has a lousy 13 touchdowns for 13 interceptions in his career. He doesn't really push the ball down the field. It's dink and dunk. Barely puts the ball in the end zone, but when he does, it gets canceled out for a turnover. And to have a coach that never has a losing season, a team that always drafts well and has stability, they barely fire coordinators. Barely. You barely win as a starter. If there's even a possibility of a quarterback competition between Rudolph and Pickett and Camp, then we have to be honest with ourselves and just understand the Steelers don't have their guy. There's no quarterback competition with Dak and Cooper Rush. There's no quarterback competition with Kirk Cousins, and Nick Mullins. There's not. So for the fact that Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph are in quarterback competition tells me all I need to know about the Steelers. It just does. Kenny Pickett should be ashamed of himself. In the biggest game of the Steelers season, your first-round pick quarterback expected to be their franchise, local kid from Pitt, and you're on the sideline, healthy, for a third stringer? Even if Jameis Winston has great games, I don't think the Saints and Dennis Allen are keeping his right in his hot hand for Derek Carr. Of course, the elite quarterbacks, Jake Browning could throw for 300 yards. Joe Burrow, if he's healthy, goes back to beat. Chad Henne could win a playoff game against the Browns with an injured Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is going back in. I'm not talking about the elite quarterbacks. I'm just talking about the above-average teams, the average teams. Kyle Trask. If Baker Mayfield got hurt this season and had to miss a couple games, Kyle Trask goes in. Baker's going back in for Kyle Trask. Biggest game of the season. The fact that Kenny Pickett didn't go back in for Mason Rudolph, who was fine yesterday. And he was honestly played pretty good to end the season. Beat the Seahawks, beats to do to get in this playoffs. And he was definitely better than Mitch Trubisky. He had like 2 touchdowns, couple hundred yards. Mason Rudolph was pretty good at the end of the season. I'm not trying to bash Mason Rudolph. But Kenny Pickett was a first-round pick. Supposed to be the franchise guy. And the fact that he didn't go back in for him speaks volumes. But I appreciate everyone who turned in this quick episode. I love these quick episodes. I get in and out. I don't know when the next show would be. I presume Friday because it's pretty dead this week as far as sports. But obviously turn on notifications and follow all my social media channels. Some Casual Takes is the handle just to be notified when the next show pops up. Until next time, I'll see you guys and hope you guys have a good week.